Hello, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not there's a difference in plagiarism and writing your papers and putting a sermon together. Can you actually plagiarize your sermon or a message that you're delivering at the pulpit? And in my mind, no, there's no difference. Just as you do in a research paper, you collect information, you do research, you put things together. And while you do that, you cite and you reference all the where you obtained all that information, as you should do when you're delivering a sermon. Uh, there were quotes that you received from another pastor or a discussion that you had with people that led up to the sermon. And the one example that I can give is uh, last October, delivered a message on um, the seven churches in the book of Revelation. And me, the the music director of our church, Ron Brooker, and myself were having a conversation about the book of Revelation and how some people can get a little off kilter and think nothing but doom and gloom. And the one thing that he said to me that I pulled into the sermon, and even though it was a couple days later, was he says, the one thing that I've always been told was in the book of Revolution, we win. So when we come into church that morning and I'm delivering the message and I brought up that statement, and of course I turn back and look at him and say, look, per the conversation that this gentleman and myself had, referenced what he had said and didn't try to take any of that for my own credit, as in many things that we should be doing again when delivering a sermon, even referencing out of the Bible, whether it's something that Paul said or Jesus said. No matter what, we give that credit to the people in the quotations that they said it. And while I was doing some research on this particular topic, one of the most interesting things that came across, the very first sentence of this article that I read, and it's actually Plagiarism in the Pulpit, and it was written by Sarah Bailey. And in the very first, quoting her, it's "Thou shalt not steal another pastor's sermon?" ? So this is a topic of conversation where people come. Where do you draw the line? Uh, where can you get yourself in trouble? And knowing when to go and talk to, whether it's a pastor's sermon that you're wanting to quote from, or if you're wanting to take a portion or a chunk of that, you go and you speak with that person. Or if it's not somebody that's directly related to you, as far as your local church or you heard, then it's going through the necessary steps of getting in contact with that person to make sure, okay, if this is copyrighted, do I have your permission to speak of these things, give that information to him or her, and verify, okay, this is something that I can do. While I'm doing it, I'm going to be referencing the person that said it. And again, reading through this article, Bailey states in here, last year, an Episcopal priest in Massachusetts, Johnny McGinn, was accused of plagiarized sermons from sermons.com. He was suspended by his diocese and said he'd planned to retire. So here, this is taking it even one step further. When you can actually go to a website where it's sermons.com, where you're taking other people's information and passing it off on your own, it really, you have no credibility anymore. You need to go in prayer and meditation and through looking through the Bible and just seeking His Word, where He's going to lead you, what type of sermon He wants you to deliver. Then it's from the heart, and people are really going to take that in and accept it for what it is, rather than finding out, okay, this guy's not doing the work as a pastor or a lay servant or whatever his title or role may be. He's just going about the easy way and going to a website. And again, there's even, stated here, Sarah Bailey, 2003, Alvin Jackson led a National City Christian Church, plagiarized sermons, and then turned around and sold them for $50. So again, here you have somebody who's not only plagiarizing other people's sermons, but then he's making money off of that as well. Again, that's where we're taking pretty much anything and everything that has to do with the Bible. Now you're stealing. Now you're dealing with greed, among other things. Don't get caught up in that type of that type of business. I mean, again, if you're really wanting to build yourself up as a good pastor and lead the people in your congregation, write your own sermons, give credit where credit's due, and really take the time to sit back and understand what you're trying to convey to your congregation. And if there are questions or something that you don't understand, go to them. Go to a lead pastor. There are plenty resources and pastors in many areas where you can get help. And just don't forget to give, again, credit where the credit is due. So when it comes to dealing with plagiarism, just as you can deal with it in writing a paper for college, yeah, you can definitely fall into that trap when delivering a sermon as well. And with this, you're just going to completely tear down your entire self-worth, your accreditation, everything about you is going to go out the window if anybody found out that you were stealing sermons and plagiarizing off other people. So the best piece of advice I could tell you is don't do it. Work through God and His Word and let Him guide you where you're going to go. God bless.